Welcome.
Good evening, councilors. Mayor, my name is Jason Gerhardt, and I would like to discuss the issue I see is that there's a lot of questions as to money, where it went, and this current item seems to just murky the waters even more. And I actually did see a clip about the $200,000 from the Recreation Reserve Fund and didn't know if it was used for pencils or pens. And I was in the state government for one term, and I just find that kind of absurd, especially right now with all of the widespread fraud going on throughout the country. People don't really trust government accounting, and I can't blame them. I don't, and I was in the government, you know. So what I wanted to bring up was that it's pretty explicit, RSA 3410, that reserve funds shall only be made for or in connection with the purposes for which said fund was established. And obviously, as it was stated before, it's a misdemeanor if they're using funds for things that weren't supposed to be. I just really would recommend that kind of just put everything on ice. And the DRA, I wouldn't trust a government agency to oversee another government agency. That just seems to be a recipe for more disaster, and another government agency to be created to see those government agencies that didn't do their job in the first place. Recently, I've discovered that the county grand jury is actually the mechanism for investigating government. We only think of it as in its accusatory role. The prosecutor brings forth an accusation, says, hey, should we indict this guy? But it turns out other states, for instance, Florida, they use its investigatory capabilities to its full extent. And I just want to read from the handbook for the grand juries in Florida. It's really interesting. The grand jury, in addition to the duty of formally indicting those charged with crime, has the further important duty of making investigations on its own initiative, which it will report as a presentment. This duty permits investigation of how public officials are conducting their offices and discharging their public trusts. The grand jury may investigate as to whether public institutions are being properly administered and conducted. It has the power to inspect those institutions and, if necessary, may call before the grand jury those in charge of the operations of public institutions, as well as any other person who has information and can testify concerning them. Last sentence. If the grand jury finds that an unlawful, improper, or corrupt condition exists, it may recommend a remedy. And our grand jury in Merrimack County, it meets every month, but the new grand jury is coming in on Wednesday. And in September, for the previous grand jury, I gave them information about this duty and obligation they have to investigate government. Because no offense, but we need somebody to oversee government that's not in government. And these people serve for 120 days, then they're out. They have no incentive to play party